Welcome everyone to Paranormal Gateway ParaTalk. We are the hosts Scott and Teresa, and we have very special guest Tui Snider on our show for a second appearance tonight. Tui is an inquisitive world traveler who believes that every home is a travel destination. Whether researching forgotten history, unusual destinations, or historic cemetery symbolism, Tui writes books with an eye for quirky details and a touch of humor. Her work has been featured by Coast to Coast AM, LifeHack, WFAA TV, the National Museum of Funeral History and Cult of Weird, among other outlets. Tui lives in a goth tiki castle with her mad scientist husband and stray tabby cat who she adopted while traveling. When not on the road, she composes music, sings karaoke, and practices boy ball routines in their backyard. Without further ado, let's welcome Tui to the show.
Yay!
Hi,
Hey.
Scott and Teresa.
Hey, guys.
Hello! Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
We just like you that much. Gotta bring you back.
You would have back earlier, but you're on that nice trip you took that you're home for what?
I was
3 months?
2 months, but then two. You can see my math. It felt like 5.
You're high five, man.
2 months.
Wish I was there.
It was a lot. And then I had that book because when I went on that trip, I had a book that I was supposed to have done by December 1st. And
I remember that.
Yeah, and my publisher was like, well, okay, we'll give you till March. And so I had a lot of crazy, I spent a lot of time. You asked me to be on earlier, and I'm like, I just can't. I kept putting it off. I felt bad. So we're here now.
Well, that's not a problem. We got a whole bunch of,
Oh, you have all sorts of great guests.
So yeah, but we're lucky. So
yeah, Scott got lucky. Scott's getting lucky.
He's getting lucky.
He's
glad to hear it.
I've kind of been. I mean, I've been in a hiatus for quite some time. We're getting ready to move from Indiana to South Carolina, and now we're getting like close, like less than a month close. So I mean, Scott's been absolutely amazing at understanding that it's just.
Thank you.
It's just when you got little ones and everything else, you have a lot going on in your life then, and thank God he has just been absolute, and all of our guests and everything. I mean, they've been very understanding to the fact that I pop in, I pop out, I pop in when I can, and so we get that kind of stuff all too well.
Oh, I see Jim Kelly. Hi, Jim. Yeah, it's tough. Moving is tough. That's for sure. That's a real difficult thing to do.
I'm ready for it.
Yeah. Oh, good. Well, it's going to be a good move then. Moving can be. You know what I like about moving? I like unpacking. Packing, I hate packing.
See,
unpacking, that's fun.
We got it good because
it's a new place, I guess.
Yeah, you're like, this, I can do this here, and it's all pristine, and it's your new space. But your old space, you're like, why did I have this? And I throw it in. I start off all nice. Here's a box for kitchen stuff. Here's a box for this, and by the end, you're like, I'm shoving a pillow here, and I'm shoving. It's just like you can tell which things I packed at the end.
We got very fortunate with this whole situation because the reason we're moving is because my husband was offered
because the house went get out.
Right. We're out, man.
All right, I'm gonna do it.
He got this job, and movers come in and they pack me up.
Oh, how nice is that?
So but now, there's things that you have to do. Like I wasn't involved in the first process. My husband was with the movers being involved. Now it's me. So I'm going to be on these people like a hawk, like making sure everything gets packed up correctly and certain things are taken care of. And I don't know if they'll like me by the end of it, but at least I don't got to pack it. I just get to unpack.
That's nice. Yeah. Oh, good to hear. Glad to hear that.
Yes. It's a lot less stress. It really
is. It really is. Yeah.
get to enjoy the fun part.
What do we see there? Soulstream Radio. Hi, Soulstream.
Yeah,
Radio.
that's John Amata, a good friend of mine.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I was on his podcast a couple of years back, I guess.
Oh, okay.
And then we all got away for a while, I guess, for everything going on. And he's back now.
Yay.
So I think he's on the 5th or 6th show, I think, now. Since I'm back. So get a chance to check out. Go to soulstreamradio.com.
Oh, nice.
So.
Oh, Ken Reed's here. Hi.
Yeah, the fake
My friend
Reed
Ken, he lives in Colorado. Hi, Ken. So great to see you. This is nice. That's what I love about StreamYard and stuff. You can see who's here.
Right.
Ken's really, really fun. He and his wife, they have this group called the oh God, I'm blanking. It's afternoon tea league. And they invited me to be a member. And they do, tea parties, but they dress in like Victorian and Edwardian clothing. And they have really great tea and really great. I'm doing this because they'll have those little platters that have like, different layers of stuff, different things to eat on it. And I've had Zoom tea parties with them before, but they actually have tea parties out in cemeteries, a historic cemetery. They do one at a specific woman's grave and things like this. It's really cool. And then they do take photos of it, make them look old timey, and it's very fun.
Awesome.
They're so fun, so much fun.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, I'm glad you could
I
come.
love the Victorian era. I'm obsessed with the Victorian era.
Oh yeah, I know. Me too. And speaking of cemetery picnics, I was just at one last weekend, so that was a lot of fun.
Oh, where'd you go? What cemetery?
It was in Dallas Oakland Cemetery.
Okay.
And it's a historic cemetery that if you look at a map of Dallas and you're looking at all the street names, Ackerd is a very like a common name you'll see, and I'm blanking, but a lot of other just, if you're looking at a map of Dallas, the last names that you see in the cemetery are all like, you feel like you're walking through a map. Oh, that street, that street. You know who they're all named after. So this is a cemetery that was, the who's who created Dallas, but then it became neglected. And so in the last 5 years, this group has adopted it and they've cleaned it up like amazingly so. Like I've talked to people who went there because their grandpa was buried there and they could not even find where. Now you can drive through it and there's roads, the roads were there, but everything was just so wild and overgrown. You couldn't figure out what anything was. And so it's pretty cool. It's got a lot of Victorian era symbolism, beautiful monuments, statues that are just so pretty, and flowers and plants and all that good stuff.
We love the old cemeteries and stuff, and to see it get that bad work,
it's so nice.
Not taken care of because somebody do it, take the time to do it, or it's not get done. But that's nice they did it there for you.
It is. They've got a nonprofit group now. And so, this was a fundraiser. They had a silent auction.
Cool.
So I donated some stuff. I donated some photographs and books and things like that. And nice. And then they had food there. They had, this is Texas. So there was really great brisket and stuff. And it was a lot of fun.
Yummy.
Yeah, good stuff.
Oh, brisket.
Who else is here? I'm just looking. I want to say hi to everybody. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but in there, give a shout out so you know who you are.
It's been so long since I've done a live show. It just feels so funny.
Yes, we enjoy it. I like doing it.
Yeah,
that's why I kept it up because I give you something to do. So
it's fun. It's really fun to chat with people and kind of connect.
I like doing all graphics and stuff too.
Oh, you do such a great job. I love that intro you have for this.
That's all him.
That is so cool. That is so nice. Really well produced.
I'll get a shout out for Canva. I do all my stuff in Canva.
Oh, Canva is awesome. Canva is king.
I do a newsletter through there too. So.
Wow. But you know what? Okay, Canva is a tool But you, Scott, obviously you have graphics. You've got the eye. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have background graphics.
You've got a background in graphics, so the tool comes in handy. I mean, it's just like saying, oh, someone going, oh, I really like the painting you did, and you're like, yeah, well, I have this thing called a paintbrush, and oh my gosh, it really helped so much. Yeah, okay, the paintbrush does help, but
I have this back here.
see, you have to have that graphic capability. It's kind of humid in here today. I wore a beret, but my reading glasses are fogging over. Let me see.
Yeah, but I just have to stick with it.
Oh yeah, I like that.
My banner.
Oh, how fun. Yeah, fun stuff.
Yeah, I love to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I love it. Good stuff.
Close door. Thank you.
All right, Tui, you want to work on your telling story bin? I guess you set up. You want to start that? I mean,
oh yeah, you want me to tell some stories? I can tell people a little. If anyone doesn't know me, I'll just tell them that like I write lots of books. This is my first book. I'll just do show and tell, and then I'll tell them. So, like, I write travel books. But they're not your normal travel books because I go to weird places. Like this is called Unexpected Texas. And it's a travel guide to Texas, but the kinds of things you're going to see in here, I tell you where there is the embalmed body of a horny toad on display and a little custom made velvet casket in a downtown like courthouse, stuff like that. So it's not like, just the random stuff that you could just find on TripAdvisor. I not random, the obvious stuff. I find weird stuff and I put it in there. The offbeat overlooked is what I call it. And then I have a travel guide to all the haunted places around here that I could find. And what I did was I really looked into the history behind it. So let's say they say, oh, here's a bridge and Joe Blow haunts this bridge. I go, I have a lot of newspaper archives that I have access to, and I dig into stuff and I look up that bridge and I find out, no, it's not really Joe Blow. It's, Joe Smith, and he was, lived there. So I try to find kind of the history behind it, but then I, include like, I tell you how to go there. These are all places you could, like, if you've got some ghost hunting equipment and you want to do some exploring, you could actually go to all these places.
Oh, nice. So they're all public places.
That's nice. Are. I hate it when you read about it. This is a pet peeve. Like I actually read about this haunted hot dog stand. And I was so excited. It was close by. And I'm like, yay. Next, my husband's next day off, we are going to go to that haunted hot dog stand. And then when I looked into it deeper, I was like, you can't even go there anymore. They like put a parking lot over it. And it's like private property. It was just a thing where I'm like, why did they taunt me like that? Don't even tell me about it. I don't even want to know about keep your hot dogs. But I just saw Sherry is here. Sherry, hi. She introduced herself to me recently because she's your buddy from work or something.
Yeah, we used to work together probably like 15 to 20 years together.
Nice.
Back in our Dorp, PA.
Wow.
Actually at Graphic Company. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we connected. She said she was going to come tonight. She did. Yay.
Yeah, she does very good work too. I think she's still doing it. Are you still working in graphics?
She says yes. Wow. So then my other thing that I get into while I'm yammering on about myself here. Let's see. Another book. This is my most popular book. It's called Understanding Cemetery Symbols.
I got that one.
And this one is, helpful. I wrote it because I wanted a book like this. It just helps to understand when you're in a cemetery, and I end up there a lot. I love cemeteries anyway, and it helps explain what the different symbols mean that you see in cemeteries. And then I've got another one. This one's just fun. This one, 6 feet under Texas, because 6 flags over Texas, a little planet.
That one
this
too.
This one's fun. I think this is fun. It tells you about a lot of weird graves and the stories behind them. I did a lot of historic research for it. I got like 50 chapters in here with a bunch of different.
Wow.
So it'll take you different places. She says, no, I'm in property management now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well.
Yeah.
Anywho, so we got all that. So so I do write books, and I have one coming out this fall, and maybe I could be on your show again. This is the book that kept me so busy earlier, and I couldn't be on your show because I had to get it done off to the publisher by March. And she loves cemeteries too. Well, good deal. I know she just joined my newsletter. I'm so happy.
Great.
So I do a weekly newsletter. If anyone watching this likes cemeteries, my newsletter, Scott knows he's on it. But I started a thing now where like I do a cemetery news roundup. So I tell you a few things, maybe an article I wrote or whatever. Lately, I've been writing articles based on readers will send me things and ask me questions about cemeteries, and I get inspired to write an article about it. I'm working on one this week about maybe some hoodoo that was seen there, so this should be interesting. But anyway, I have like the cemetery news roundup at the end, which is really fun. So I just do 3 to 5 articles about cemeteries around the world and what's going on, strange stories, interesting monuments, just a bit of history, whatever. So that's a lot of fun. And then the book I was going to tell you about, the one that's coming out this fall, is really different. It is a travel guide, but it doesn't have any phone numbers, addresses, websites in it, because I was telling someone, it's kind of like if Nostradamus wrote a travel guide, because I have, it's all for North Texas. I got Dallas, Fort Worth, and then 10 of the historic towns around here. And the publisher, the way they have you do it is you write rhyming clues. So like 4 lines that rhyme, like a little poem sort of, but I mean, they're not wonderful works of poetry, but I work in little clues. So each little quatrain, if you read it and then you look at this little picture, you can figure out what I'm talking about, and it'll take you around that town or that neighborhood and to different places. And apparently it's been a very popular series for them, because they did one on a lark, and so they were like, oh, we're just going to do more. And so that's the book that's coming out in the fall, and I did have a lot of fun writing it, and I can hardly wait to see if hopefully I didn't make the clues too hard or whatever. I tried to incorporate some historic background into them. Like there was this one building that people were afraid, when skyscrapers were a new thing, people were afraid. And I read like articles where they were letters to the editor where they're complaining, or they were worrying that the shadow from like a 7-foot tall building, to them, that was a tremendously high building, might change the weather patterns and cause all sorts of stuff. So I was like, wow, so I tried to work that in, like they were afraid of a shadow. I tried to make it rhyme, and it was very fun.
The tall skyscrapers, you got to see clouds. So
now they're so flippin' tall, but back then it was very, very interesting to see.
That's funny.
It kind of reminds me of like that geocaching thing.
People do. I think it'll apply to similar people.
Yeah.
I think people who like urban exploring, and stuff like that. There were some things I couldn't include in it because the way they had it, they wanted it to be stuff that, since this came out, at the height of the pandemic is when they were first making these books. So they wanted it places that you could kind of go with your family and friends and not have to go inside if the place is closed. So, or also a lot of places have gone out of business and stuff. So I concentrated on things that can't move. So even like some of the small towns that I have in, they have got nice businesses, but they move to different places a lot around the town square. So I focused on architectural details and murals and sculptures that aren't going to move anytime soon. I put the cemeteries in there, but things you could still go around a cool neighborhood, and it kind of gets you. It's a type of mindset to travel that way. Like once you start finding these clues, hopefully people will find things I didn't put in the book and be like, "Oh, this is cool. Why did she put in there?" So I think it'll be fun.
So all your books that you have, you can get them on Amazon, right?
Oh yeah. Just
can they get a signed copy from you, or let's go to your site for a signed copy?
For a signed copy, you just email me and I will send you a book plate, and I will sign it, and it's a sticker that you can put in there. So that's what I do. So because I've got a lot of, surprisingly, did you know there's a lot of cemeteries that have gift shops? I didn't know this, but recently, I know you don't, when you think cemetery, you don't think gift shop, right? But there are some very amazing cemeteries, like in Savannah, and there's one in Atlanta. There's a little one in Arizona that has a gift shop. Anyway, they carry my books, and when they do, if they order books, I send them, but I send them a bunch of signed book plates, and they can put them inside them. But it is funny. And the National Museum of Funeral History, they've got my books too. If anyone sees them down there, take a picture, because I love to see my books in the wild. But I need awesome. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Who knew? A little niche.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
So you want to start your travel?
Yeah, you want me to do a little kind of gives a whole new meaning to Wish You Were Here postcards. Yeah, no kidding. Wish You Were Here. All right. Oh, here we are. Here I am. Okay. So here's just I just wanted to say that I love to travel, and let me bring up my stuff. And I love to travel. I love our whole planet. I think we've got a wonderful planet. When I hear people who want to go to Mars, I'm like, fine, go to Mars. I just love it here. I'm pretty happy. People say it's a small world. I'm like, not really. It's pretty darn big.
Yeah.
So here's a picture. This is down in, I just thought I'd show some of the, I love, obviously I love cemeteries. We've established that, but I also look for the offbeat and overlooked things. And here's an example. This is down in Alabama. This is, there's a billionaire, and he commissioned, you're just driving along this, kind of these thin trees. You're just driving along a bunch of them. He commissioned a bunch of dinosaurs, like full-size dinosaurs, to be placed there. So it's very random. Suddenly you got the dinosaurs. And then you go to this boat launch area. And when you're there, he also commissioned, I think he commissioned this big, huge spider, which freaked me out because I'm very scared of spiders. That was a fun thing. And then another thing he commissioned was, they call it Bama Henge. And so, so it looks like Stonehenge, but it's in Alabama, and it's life size, and I think it's made of fiberglass. And so it's very goofy. And I have a thing about I call them faux hinges, because everybody loves Stonehenge, right? And I have never been there, but I always seem to find these what I call faux hinge. So this one's really fun. So it's called Bama Henge. Here's another. This one is in Texas. And I always do when I visit them, I go do the Vanna White look. And you know what? I forgot. I got my mom's in the hospital this afternoon, and I got distracted. There's a cool one in Texas, which I forgot to do, which is very nice. It's actually probably the best fake Stonehenge I've seen. It's from these stones. But this one cracks me up because it's also got the Easter Island guy.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it's very goofy. And this one's not as tall. I don't think this is full size. So it's a lot of fun. And then last summer we got to go down to Marfa, and I just love the whole area down there. It's a beautiful part of Texas, and they have this life-size. If anyone's seen the movie Giant, these are all references to the movie. So there's Elizabeth Taylor and James Dean.
Oh wow!
This is the movie. I watched Giant right before we went to Marfa, so now I was familiar with it.
I saw it. Yeah.
This house is actually based on a house that's just a little north of me called El Castile. I should have added that to my thing. I didn't. Oh, well, it's a very interesting house. But when you go here, there's music playing because Mike Nesmith from the Monkees, he composed music to go along with this. And there's like solar power that plays the music. So that's a lot of fun.
Oh, wow.
Well, that's just some of the fun types of things I look for when I'm in America. And then when I'm traveling around the world, I got to say one of my favorite places in the world is, well, I'll just dig around here. I didn't get these in really a great order. One of my favorite places in the world is Venice. And I think it really lives up to the hype. And so I'm showing you this picture because the mascot, if you will, for Venice is the winged lion. And so the winged lion stands for Saint Mark. And so there are 4 animals. So you know how if you're a Christian, there in the Bible, there's Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, the first 4, the gospel, the first 4 books, And so Matthew is an angel. That's his attribute, as they call it. Mark is a lion with wings. Luke is an ox. And John is an eagle. But everywhere you go in Venice, you're going to see lions with wings because a long time ago, they stole some bones that were supposed to be Saint Mark's. And they just stole them. They're like, these are our now. These belong to us. Anyway, so that's kind of the theme of the town. So when you go to their main square, St. Mark's Square, you're going to see a lion with wings again, because that stands for St. Mark's. They got this incredible clock. And then they have this clock tower. Okay, here's the clock tower. Like I say clock tower, I think Back to the Future, but it's not quite and where is it? They're gonna show, did I not get a picture? They have a really nice the center of that clock is, I don't know, it's astrological signs.
Oh,
And I wanted to show
Okay.
you that. Darn it, I don't know that I have it. Oh, here you go. So you can see the signs of the zodiac. So you can tell what day of the year, because back in the day, there was no difference between astrology and astronomy. They were the same. And so, like, we just had Easter, and Easter's date changes every year, and that's because it's the first Sunday after the first full moon after the vernal equinox, which is spring. So after, and so they needed to know. So it was important to have astronomical clocks. And so this is really cool thing.
That is cool.
Yeah. So it's pretty neat. So, like I was saying, I love, one of the places I went to in Venice. Like I said, I absolutely love Venice. What I like about Venice, well, so many things, but one thing is there are no cars, because it's all those canals. And then if you stay overnight at night, a bunch of tourists come during the day and then they leave. And I mean, obviously I'm a tourist too, but there's so much fewer of them at night. So if you can be there a few nights and you could walk around after 5 o'clock, after everyone's had to leave, there are no cars at all. So it's quiet. And you just walk around and you feel like it's 1,000 years ago. I mean, it's just a neat feeling.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It really is. I totally think it lives up to the hype. One place I went to was the Crypt of San Zaccaria. I'm probably saying it wrong now. But you go into this nice church, and most people don't know that if you ask, you can go downstairs. And by downstairs, you go into this crypt. And Venice, is built on these man-made islands. So it floods and it's wet there. And I don't know if you can tell how there's some water on the ground.
Yeah.
Here's another one. Here's I'm downstairs. You can see that kind of green mark. That's where like the water gets up to sometimes. So you walk around there and it just the air feels old.
Yeah.
You don't really think about, I think the air is old here, but it does. Here's another. So you can see this crypt. I mean, someone's buried in there. That was a pretty cool thing.
That's neat.
And then another, I'm just going off about Venice. It's one of my favorite places in the world. If anyone ever gets a chance to go there.
I'm jealous.
It's worth going. It's totally worth going. Go. Okay, this is pretty neat. I did an article about this here. Maybe I'll share I'll just share this in case anyone's, I don't know if I can share it. I don't know if I can. I was going to share a link, but I don't know if I can. I don't think I can I? I can't comment.
Should be able to in the comments.
You can share in the comments.
Yeah, in the comments.
I don't see a spot. I know you guys can. I don't think I can for some reason. Oh, well, I was going to say, because if you go to, how can I share this? I could share it with one of you guys on in Facebook Messenger, and you can share. Here, Scott, I'll share it with you on Facebook Messenger real quick.
All right.
Because if anyone wants to know, because it goes into, this article I wrote goes into detail about all the cemetery symbols on this gorgeous pyramid. So this is the pyramid for a sculptor named Canova, and he was a real big deal in his day. I mean, he was known around the world to the point where, like, he did sculptures of people like Napoleon and different, George Washington, things like that. He was so well known that everyone wanted their, have their portrait done by Canova. And he was from Venice. And so that's why you see a winged lion, of course, on this pyramid. This is inside a church that they call the Frari in
too well.
Huh?
I'll do it, but I think the link is there.
Oh, did the link go in? Oh,
there.
Wow, it made it huge.
Yeah, let me try again. Let me actually click on it now.
Let me click on it. Oh, it's not letting me click on it. Oh, maybe
it's not letting me. It's not letting me click on it either.
Well, I'll fix it.
Okay.
Sorry. I did something stupid, so.
Oh well, who knows? Anyway, so he created this. He designed this pyramid. This is inside a church in Venice, and he designed this to be the tomb for the painter Titian, who he really admired. But he ended up dying. Canova did before that. So his students created this, and they created it for him. But here's the thing: his heart is buried here. And his heart is, I don't know, does my cursor show up? It's right inside that urn. So this hooded figure, this mourning figure that's walking into the pyramid. And the reason that it's a pyramid is because he was a Freemason. And so this has got some Masonic symbolism to it. And if anyone wants to read that article, I go into all the symbols here because it's a lot of fun. But yeah, so, but only his heart is in here. His right hand is pickled in a jar, and it's in a museum. And then the rest of his body is in another place. So I mean, 3 different places. It's a little bit crazy, but that's the way it went for Canova. But his students really loved him. And one thing that's kind of neat when you go in here, you can see there's each section, like one of his students did this section and one did this section. So each section has got it's got different names on it. You can see who did what, and I can't remember who did what, but it is a lot of fun. And I love this. There's so much symbolism. I mean, here's Canova, and here's an Ouroboros, which is a snake biting its tail to stand for eternity. You know, there's just there's so much here. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, that's really neat. So
they actually let you go into it.
No, you can't. They've got this little gate here. You have to stay back here. I know I would have liked to have climbed up there, but no, you can only, that's as close as you can get. Now in Venice, they have a whole island that's the cemetery island. And I did visit the cemetery island, and oh my gosh, I mean, the statuary and everything there is really amazing. I guess I could have, I didn't get a chance to really get all that together, but one other thing I thought people might find kind of fun that has to do with Venice is, I went to this church on the island of Murano. And
Tabby.
What's that?
There's your hubby. Is that you?
Yes, my hubby. Yeah, that's Larry. Larry, my hubby.
Hey, Larry.
Yeah, hey, Larry. So we went, this is on the island of Murano, and this church is from the 7th century. So it is freaking old. This is a very old church. They don't even quite know exactly when at least from what I remember, exactly when it was built, but it was early. And one of the things about this church is, okay, let's say you're looking up at the main, the front of the church where the main altar is and everything. You look behind it and you see these bones. These are allegedly dragon bones.
Okay. All right.
Because Saint Donatus allegedly slew a dragon back in 1125 or something like that. And these are the bones of the dragon, although they look an awful lot like whale bones that I've seen. So, I mean, they are something. They're the bones of something. We got that much, but they got, back in the day, they were like, hey.
They were like ribbons.
But a lot of people don't know these are here. They come. It's a really cool church. It's got really cool ancient things to see, but they don't know that those are allegedly not dinosaur bones, dragon bones. So that's kind of fun. Let's see what else is there. I was going to show you. There's some other things in that church. Do I have it? Oh, this is kind of interesting. I think, and I never found out, this is corpus, meaning body, right? Saint Gerardi, sacred, sagredi, whatever. So this is like every now and then when you're in a church in Europe, you will see an uncorrupted saint, like the body of a saint that didn't rot, supposedly, and whatever. And they're, kind of eerie. I never did find out the full story on this guy because I was there to see the dragon bones, but I looked over and I saw him. I just thought I would share that because I was looking at my folder today, and I'm like, oh yeah, I still need to look at the story behind that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I know. I didn't know if anyone had any questions. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So number 3. Okay, another spot I went to that this place, my husband, when he was little, his dad worked for he was an airline mechanic, and Larry lived in New York. And he had 3 brothers, and it was actually his dad could get like free airfare. Nice. As kind of a perk, right? And so it was back in those days, it was actually cheaper for their family to fly to Europe and visit that than it was to go to upstate New York and try and, feed everybody and get a hotel and everything. So they would fly. So he has pictures. He's gone to Egypt a lot when he was a kid. And I've always been so jealous of him, and we just never got the chance to go. But last year we got the chance to go to Egypt, and I just threw some pictures in here. I don't even know where. I didn't organize these at all. It's just like this was Hatshepsut's temple, female pharaoh. So really interesting. And there were some people who didn't like that there was a female pharaoh, and you can see where they've scraped out her name on some things.
Oh, wow.
But this is really fascinating. And this is just, you go there and you see people, the men just dressed in their traditional garb. You're like, oh yeah, I'm not in Kansas anymore. This is really an interesting place. We went to the Valley of the Kings, and that's where there are a whole bunch of tombs, right? Oh. And one of the tombs you might have heard of, somebody named Tutankhamun, King Tut.
Not King Tut.
Yeah.
And so you walk in here. Yeah, King Tut. I know I had that in my head, the King Tut song a lot. And you walk down this steep, each tomb is a little different, but you walk down these steep entrances and you go around, and I'm pretty claustrophobic, so I was a little worried, but I was fine. So if anyone's a little bit claustrophobic, believe me, and you love history, you're going to be fine in there. And here's just a selfie of us just to prove, we're here. I can't believe it. But I was blown away. There was so much history. We had this professional guide with us who was he was an Egyptologist, and you could just ask him whatever. I took so many notes and everything. Look at the size of those columns.
Wow.
This is the Temple of Karnak, but these things are freaking huge. Yeah. There is so much history there. It was just, we were very lucky to be able to go. I would love to go back. I'm still blown away. I was taking notes. I was recording him. I was trying to learn things. My mind's still a little blown that I even got to go there. So I don't know. I highly recommend if anyone ever gets a chance to go to Egypt, I would totally go back again. It was neat. And then the song, how are we doing on time? Okay, we're doing okay.
Cool.
I was going to say, I thought I would talk a little bit about, I don't know if you guys have ever been to, this is another place that I totally bucket list. And if you ever get the chance, I would tell you to go to Petra, which is in Jordan. And so you walk in, okay, so there's this ancient peoples called the Nabateans, and they had this amazing garden city in, hi, let's say Bob and Connie McIntyre. Hi guys, so glad you came. Yeah, I totally recommend going to Egypt. It's just wow. I was like overwhelmed, and I could have shown so many pictures. I just didn't know. But anyway, Jordan's a really cool place. So Jordan, the country of Jordan is interesting. Hey, hi. If a lot of science fiction films are filmed in
really?
Jordan. And so you can see why the countryside, when you're driving along, you're like, gosh, I can see why they might use this for Mars. And our guide was telling us a whole list of movies that are filmed there. But when you go to Petra, that's where it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And you show up and you walk down for a couple of miles down this really narrow canyon. And along the side here, in some places, you can see where they had little like irrigation areas where water would go, because it's really dry now and arid and nothing's growing there. But back in the day when the Nabateans were living there, it was this incredible garden city. Kind of there, and they traded, and they were aware of the ancient Egyptians. They were aware of the ancient Greeks, and the ancient Greeks, they would talk about the ancient Egyptians. So Egypt's history just stretches out freakishly long. But to hear about this culture, I love the mixture of different cultures. So you walk down, and you're going, okay. So you walk down, and then when you come out at the bottom, you hit this gorgeous, you see what they call the treasury.
That's neat.
That's the treasury. And Napoleon named it the treasury, which was a misnomer. It's actually, these are tombs. These are mausoleums. So people were buried there in the day. So this part wasn't really the city part. This was like, these are the Nabateans' burials ground. So, but you can see the Greek influence here, and but this is into sheer beautiful rock. Here's another picture. And so while we were there, here's another one. Just The locals, they thought it was a cold day, so they were all bundled up. I'm like, seriously? Anyway, and then there were, okay, so you go down there. I like how, he's leaning against a camel. Look how big a camel is. I don't know. Have either of you ever ridden on a camel?
I haven't ridden on one, but I've been next to one. My kids did it.
At a fairgrounds.
Something that we went to. I'm like, okay. You just say you're late.
I did already too, but my son did one time.
Yeah, I just kind of thought, okay, so I'd ridden on horses quite a bit, and we decided we wanted to stay down there as long as we could, because we're like, hello, how often do we get to see this? And there's other stuff too. It's not just this. As you walk down, you see these other, stone things, and it's worth. So we waited to the last minute, and then we thought, oh, we're going to be late because we were on a ship, so we got to get back to the ship. So let's ride a camel back, right? How hard can that be? We'll just get on a camel. So here's another look at a camel. Yeah, camel. Okay, yeah, sure. But they are much bigger than.
And Tui comes in at like 5'2", 5'3".
Yeah, and these things are so freakishly tall. Let me see if I can find the. I have a little. I had a little. Oh, I guess it's not showing in here. It's maybe I can share it. It's like a little. I don't know why it's not showing. Okay, well. I had a little, I guess it's a little movie, but it doesn't show on here. Oops. I don't know what that is. Just a second. Let me see if I can bring it. Oh no, I should bring that up again. Okay, just a second, guys. Well, I don't know if it's going to show it. Yeah, that's not showing, is it?
I'll see a thing.
Okay. I guess it only shows my what I was showing you before. Oh no, but how do I bring it? Has it come back up? Oh, I goofed it all up, didn't I? Let me do something here. I didn't know what I was doing. Okay, let me see.
We played videos before, right?
Yeah.
Scott? Yeah. We played videos.
Has it come back? Did it come back?
The pictures are back.
Oh, the pictures are back? Okay, well, I guess I can't show that. I won't worry about it too much. But so here, all right. What I did not realize, and I had some other pictures that showed here, they're so weird. Look how camels fold themselves up. It reminds me of a cat. They are so weird. I'm really fascinated by them now. They're the weirdest animals. I love them though. But when you get on one, okay, you climb on it, and then it leans forward, and you about fall on your head, and then it leans back, and you about fall back, and then it starts going. And I mean, I've been on horses a lot, and you can kind of usually get into their stride. Camels do the weirdest thing. You're like, what am I doing? And so I did best on my camel when it was galloping, but it turned out, how horses, they can like expand their belly because they don't want to have the saddle on, and then and then it's loose. Yeah. My camel had done that. And so when we turned, I thought I was going to die. Basically, I was like, I'm going to fall off this thing. And it was the craziest thing. So we thought that our guide was going to take us right up back through the same area. But instead, we got on this camel. So we're 13 feet off the ground or something now. And I realized all there is like rock to fall on, right? And so he took us this back route. And so we're going. And I'm about to fall off. They tightened my thing, so then I was fine. But the camels, they are amazing. So there was this hill. He goes, "Oh, we're going to turn up here soon." I'm like, "Where?" That's like a almost a 90-degree angle. I mean, how could you? Not that much, but it was very, very steep. The camel could do it. It was just going up. I'm like, my life is in your hands, camel. I forgot. I wrote down the name of my camel, but I kept talking to her like, "Oh, Nabisha, love you," whatever her name was. And so then. So then it gets weirder. So then we start to wonder, like, have we been abducted? Because we're just going farther. I mean, I've got a pretty good GPS, and I could just feel we are not headed back the right way. We were veering. So we get off our camel, and the guy goes, our camels, and the guy goes, "Okay, my cousin takes you now. He doesn't speak English." So we get into a car with some dude we've never met, doesn't speak English, and there's this really narrow road that just has sheer inclines, like
Oh.
no shoulder,
no.
and he's driving like Mario
Mm.
Andretti, and he has this really great. He turns up this Egyptian music. It's like doom 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 doom, vroom, vroom, vroom. And I'm like, oh, we're gonna die. I mean, there's no seat belts. I don't know what to do, and then he comes up to this. So I'm thinking, okay, hopefully we're kind of headed back the right direction. I'm feeling a little better, and then all of a sudden we hit. There's a bunch of sheep in the road. And we're just sitting there with sheep going around for like 20 minutes, like, man. I'm like, we're gonna be late. And then finally we
move
get
your
to
sheep, man.
and then he just drops us at this place with a fence with concertina wire and guys with machine guns. I'm like, okay, now we've been abducted, totally.
Oh boy.
And he's just like, I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. So then we get another ride. Oh my gosh. So long story short, we lived obviously, but I mean, it was just one thing after the other with that whole, and I was so sore. My hands were really sore the next day because I spent about 20 minutes thinking I was going to fall to my death off the camel. And so the only thing I could do is hang onto the saddle really tightly. And they told me to put my leg like up over in front of me. So I'm sitting in this really, they're like, oh, just do this, madame. And he takes my shoes. So I don't even have my freaking shoes. And like, puts my leg over it. And I was like, that'll be better. I'm like, right. Totally feeling like I'm going to fall off now. So yeah, for like 3 days, my hands were like stuck like this, Anyway, that was my big, I was left with like a total fascination and love of camels.
Wow.
Yeah, Dr. Evil's lair. No kidding. I mean, I was really wondering, like, what have we gotten ourselves into? We thought it was like a shortcut, blah blah blah. Yeah, right. It was a good adventure though. Oh my gosh. So we show up, we're all sweaty and covered in sand and everything and running, to get on our bus. And then some other couple was like 15 minutes later than us. We're like, oh, okay. Well,
we're good.
Jeez, after all that.
And it would be a car.
I know. It was so nutty. Oh, well, whatever. It was a good adventure.
You took a car. I took a camel and you're still late.
I know. Oh my goodness. It was nutty. Yeah. But if anyone ever gets a chance to go to Petra, I do highly recommend it. And I don't know. I wasn't really sure what I when you first asked me to be on here, you asked if I wanted to share some stuff about my travels. So that's why I threw a few things into the travel folder.
I was hoping you would. A lot of fun.
Yeah,
a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. Totally recommend it. And of course, every time I travel, I'm always looking for the nearest cemetery to see what is up. Because there are some variations around the world, obviously, and I want to see them.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and I think it's interesting, your book with like the symbols and stuff, like you were saying earlier. So many people, we do that. We go to cemeteries, you see a symbol, you have no idea what that thing means. It would be very nice to kind of have like, your handbook there where when you go into that place, then, you look it up, you know exactly what that symbol means then.
Yeah, it can definitely
a lot
help
of them. We Scott, you've been to Centralia before, right?
Oh, a couple times, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of cemeteries in Centralia, Pennsylvania.
Oh,
where
okay.
if you did not know what those symbols meant, you would have absolutely no idea like what kind of cemetery you were even in. But yet some of those cemeteries are based on someone's background, their religion, what I mean?
You have to take the context. So sometimes, I love it. I mean, I do get a lot of emails from people and they send me pictures of headstones and they're curious about it. But sometimes they just zoom in just on the symbol. And I'm like, well, can you give me the whole thing? Because, and can you tell me, because the same symbol could mean something in a Jewish cemetery or a Christian cemetery. Or different time periods, things like that. Although, so, I mean, there's a lot of, you need to see, like a good example is like, let's say you see a picture, not a picture, but a picture of water. So if you just zoom in and you see a picture of water on a headstone, if you're in a Jewish cemetery, then that means they descended from the tribe of Levi. And so they're Levite. And because the Levites would have their hands washed by the priests. But if you're in a Christian cemetery and you see a picture, it probably means the righteous woman and she may have been, involved in against prohibition, things like that. So
Okay.
it's and you need to know the time period. Okay, so this is from the Puritan era. Oh, this is from the what era. So like when it was done is helpful too.
Yeah, I went one time to Central area, and that was when we did an investigation there.
Oh, neat.
And we set up cameras and recorders that all the cemeteries are there.
Yeah.
And then it started to rain.
You can't do it now.
Oh.
So we had to pack up and go. But yeah, we did an investigation there.
Oh, that's cool.
Centralia is a town that was actually pretty much abandoned. It was abandoned because of the fires under the ground.
Actually, I learned about that from Scott because he said
okay.
Stuff.
Yeah,
that is so cool.
It is a very interesting place, but
you
can't visit now. If they catch you
in a cemetery, all now? Oh.
If they catch you in a cemetery, they will absolutely fine you. What we used to refer to as Graffiti Highway, they have completely closed that out. You cannot get to it anymore. It's
too bad.
I'm like, oh, why? Like it was just one of those cool, I mean, especially if you're from Pennsylvania, it was just one of those very cool places to go to in your state that brought back so much history, because it wasn't just about the fire on the ground. I mean, you also learn about all of the different people that were forced out of their homes, the people that stayed and were like, screw you, I ain't leaving my house. Like,
that's like what I'll do. I'm gonna set up a show in a month to just on Centralia. And I got tons of pictures.
So interesting.
Yeah.
You should do that, especially now that people can't go there anymore.
I have the opening in June now.
Oh, wow.
So I could probably make it.
Yeah, you should do that. That sounds good.
Maybe we'll try for June 1st.
That sounds good. Yeah, do it. That'll be a good one. I was going to say, like we're talking about traveling, I'm going to say to people that it's always good to bring some sort of spray when you travel a lot, because, you can't burn smudge. You can't smudge your hotel rooms or whatever, or, you can't just be burning things willy-nilly, but sometimes you can be staying someplace that just feels icky. And it's good to have some, some smudge spray, essentially. So that is something. Every time I start to just think, oh, I never have to do that again, then something will happen and I'll be like, okay, I guess I do.
I mean, even just moving into a new house, like like when we move into this new house, I will be cleansing the heck out of that place before any of my belongings go into it.
Maybe you could do a penny charming. Have you ever done a penny charming?
Yeah.
No, I don't think I have.
What you do is, and I did this, I heard about it on a guy's website, Slade Roberson. Anyway, he's a psychic. And I moved here to Texas in 2009, but I don't think I heard about it penny charming until 2010. Anyway, what you do, when you move into a new place is you sort of introduce yourself to whatever lives there. You like do your smudging or whatever, but you clear it, but you still the things that are just naturally there. And so you the space itself, and you introduce yourself, and then you put a penny or some coin up above a door somewhere, a door that leads out. And then
I have heard of the so actually I grew up around this. I could never understand why there were pennies above my grandparents' doors.
Oh, wow.
We were little assholes. Like, you know what I mean? As grandkids. We're like, a penny. Like, and grandma would give us heck about don't touch the pennies. And like, but grandma, it's a penny. Now it makes sense. Now it makes sense.
Yeah.
I've seen that in my family a lot. Okay.
Wow.
I did that. I did it when my husband wasn't around, and I put a penny up on something. I wrote down exactly what happened. I don't remember now exactly what happened, but what I do know is I went up to take a shower. I'm the only one home. And when I came back down, there was I think it was a nickel was on that I had not put there, was on the nearby, like down below. And then a few months later, when I went feeling up for the penny or whatever coin I had put up there, it was gone. So I don't know, but there was a coin that I definitely had nothing to do with had just appeared on the little rim of our like aquarium area. I was just like, what?
It's interesting because there's so many things. A girlfriend of mine were just talking about this a few weeks ago.
Mhm.
So, I did not grow up in a very religious family.
Mhm.
I mean, we had family members that went to church every Sunday, everything,
Mm.
but we weren't a very religious family. But growing up, we always took notice to certain things. And it's like, well, what is that? Like, well, what is that supposed to mean? What is,
Mhm.
and
Signs or
yes, and a lot of times
wow.
it was, well,
So
see, now I
folkloric.
discovered, yes, like I actually discovered, and I mean, this is kind of just recently where I really started to indulge into this path, that like witchcraft is in my family, my mom's side of the
Wow.
family. So
Mhm.
all these symbols and crap that I was seeing as a kid, well, now they make sense because now I'm in my own journey, in my own path of this, and I'm like, now I understand.
I haven't had that experience, but I've listened to podcasts where other people have been like, gee, I grew up and I realized grandma was doing these things that are actually folk magic. And they were just not aware of it. They never connected the dots, but then on their own path, they pick up a book somewhere and they start reading and they're like, wait a minute, my grandma used to do something similar. Even the whole thing like this, when you see this in heavy metal, like I forget, I'm not a big heavy metal person, but the like bass player for Black Sabbath or whatever, he started this. And so now, back in the day, and it's because his grandma would always do that to him when he was going to go somewhere. And so that was like her, it was like to ward off, it was kind of an evil eye thing. Like it reminds me, in Italy, they do something a lot like that. The corno, it's the horns, the corno, they have a little horn. So I think that, but I mean, now it's like, stick your tongue out, heavy metal, head banging. But it was like from his grandma. Who knew they were doing something, grandma's folk magic worked its way into. And so he would do that before each show, I think, because she would always do it for good luck. Anyway, people picked it up.
Okay.
Someone else can research that. I don't have that totally all the facts down on that, but it bubbles up a little, something along those lines.
We see symbols around us all the time. It is just one of those things where you either know or you don't know. I think it's interesting. I mean, even just moving out. So Scott and I are from Pennsylvania, but when I came out to Indiana, there were certain things in the town that we've been in here, and it's like, what the hell does that mean? Like, is there? And I've been here almost 4 years, and I might figure it out one day.
Hex signs on old barns and things like that when you drive. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's neat because it's something a lot of people you don't really go about your daily life really paying attention.
You just think it's decorative.
You see it every day of your life. You might pass it every day of your life, but you have no idea what it means.
That's my whole approach to travel.
And I love that. I absolutely
pay attention to the things that you go by every day. Like, what does that mean?
The oddities. Then the oddities out. Yes.
And then before you know it, you're not bored anymore because you're really digging into some strange story about your local area, and you're like, what?
Right.
Yeah. Just get out a map and look for a place with a weird name near you and try to figure out what it is.
Right?
What's a map?
What's a map? Yeah. Okay, go to Google Maps. I got a map behind me. I love maps. I just love to look at them. But there's a place near me called Wizard Wells. And I've been through there before. And nope, it was weird. It was like a ghost town. Like there were buildings that are obviously being lived in, but I wanted to talk to somebody. No one was around, and it was interesting. But I'm sure there's some great story behind Wizard Wells. I need to go back there again.
Yeah, there's a place out here, and I mean, some of the locals. I mean, now that I've got to know some of the people out here, and they understand my background now. It's like, the witch's dwelling? I believe is what they call it, and I'm like, the what? And all of them are like, you need to go check this place out. It's literally only like 20 minutes away. But I can't find it. I guess because I can't remember like what they call it. It's like a very local thing. So when I go to try to find it just by doing like a Google search, I can't find it. And I'm like, that's one place I would have really have loved to have gotten to check out. Because everyone, they're like, oh, you got to go to this place. You'd fall in love. It's beautiful. It's like,
witches.
I don't know. First, I got to find the people.
Yeah. Oh.
Wow.
Take a local with me or something. Just be like, okay, now you're showing me because, yeah.
Yeah, I've had some places that have taken me a few times to find.
And there's some kind of like fountain of youth out here too.
Really?
Did you know that, Scott?
No.
There's like a fountain of youth in Indiana. I'm like, I need a fountain of youth.
See, that's the type of stuff I put in my books, and I find the places that you can actually go, and then so you get my book and you can actually go, and I'll give you descriptions,
right?
Because I want to lead people on some fun explores like that,
Yeah,
you don't have to go to Egypt to have fun. You can just have fun right where you are.
Absolutely, yeah. There's plenty to explore. I mean, especially if you take the time to get out there and really explore your area.
Yeah, really get curious and look at it like that statue you go by every day. What's the story behind it? Maybe there's a historic marker, or just some old, just check it out. You're going to find some fun stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you've got some crazy stuff over there in Ohio too, Scott. I was reading up on Ohio a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For that.
I mean, I'm really into that kind of stuff. I would rather go find the things that the golden treasures is what I like to call them, because
I like that.
People don't know about them. They don't, there's like
people assume their town and area is boring. That's what I noticed. Yeah. Everyone thinks wherever they are is boring. But you know what? Wherever you live is exotic to somebody somewhere else.
Yeah. When we first moved out here, as a family together, because my husband always has to go before the rest of us because of starting work,
Oh, okay.
So I tie up loose ends at one house, and then the kids and I go. So our first week as a family out here, he'd get home from work, we'd jump in the vehicle, and we would just drive around for a few hours. And we found so many things that, I mean, we're talking to people who have lived here all of their life, and like, hey, have you ever seen back on this road? And they're like, huh? I'm like, well, I found it.
People just kind of quit looking after a while. And that's the thing. Someone else could have flown and driven and gone to all this trouble to come to right where you are. Just imagine that you had done that, and there you are, right where you are, wherever it is. There's going to be something fascinating if you just look around the right way. Right. So that's what I really hope to inspire in people. I love it when people, find things.
I think that's why we adore you so much, because that's what you're about. It's
totally
more out and searching the oddity of things versus those things that everybody instinctively just flocks to.
Yeah. If it's already got tons of advertising and billboards and everything, well, it doesn't need the help. I try to steer people, like the book I've got coming out, I steer people to 10 different historic downtowns that, like, you probably go right by if you're using Google Maps to go here to there. It's not going to take you through the historic part, but like, so I'm making, you got an excuse now to go to this little area, and there's so many neat things there, and there's so many, I'm a former business owner. I used to have a coffee shop, so I can really feel for anybody with a small business. Like, I feel for them on a very real level. You don't have a small business. It's a labor of love. I mean, you know what I mean? So I try to steer some people. I want to keep those places in business. They're so cool. I find the old soda fountains and the old barber shops and stuff. And I try to highlight them because they deserve the love. The old bookstores. Absolutely. Oh my God, I love them.
I love the smell of an old bookstore.
Me too.
But it's crazy because so my mom she has worked for libraries within the library system as long as I can remember.
Wonderful.
That is what my mom did. And I can remember being a kid and being like, the smell of the library, and like my friends are looking at me like, this woman, she's crazy. And I'm like, no,
it's
like,
a very
you can
nice
smell the books.
Sure.
Like, what do you mean? Like, but they found it to be kind of like an old, like, no, libraries smell like old and dusty and dingy. And I'm like, I love it. I absolutely love it.
And some people are just out of touch with smell.
Yeah.
Well, they had that soda fountain at the Fire Museum, remember? They had
oh, did they? Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was the old
yeah.
That is great. Oh, hi.
Yeah.
Hey, Cheryl's here. Hi, Cheryl. Thanks for showing up.
Yeah, I'd rather go after the things that are, like I said, it's just those little golden treasures that people don't, they're not really out looking for them because it's not this museum or it's not that, like, you can
The
have
obvious place
that.
that
Yeah.
that has a big
Yeah.
budget. It's like
Yeah.
everybody, knows about
Yeah.
Coca-Cola and McDonald's or whatever. But
Right.
in the in your town, the area, there's the things that get all the attention. But then there's the neat
I-
things. Like there is this wonderful museum in Jefferson, Texas. It's called the Museum of Measurement and Time. And this
Oh.
elderly couple run it, and they are the nicest people in the world. And she collects salt shakers, all sorts of different ones. She has thousands of them, and she remembers the story behind every single one. And so she will tell you this.
Wow.
And it all started because he used to travel for work, and he started bringing her salt shakers every time he traveled. He, for work, he was a surveyor, so he has all this surveying
Okay.
equipment. But they have all these clocks, and they know all about the history of clocks. And who knew that? I mean, clocks are neat, but when they tell you about them, it becomes so fascinating. Like if I
Yeah.
were just walking in there alone, I'd be like, okay, whatever. But when they tell you about it and walk you through it, and it's just this little, it's just something. They retired, realized they were bored, and so they opened
Okay.
the Museum of Measurement of Time, which sounds huge, but it's just this little thing that they made.
Right.
And I just think that's so beautiful, and like people should know about it.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And we are living in a day and age now with our society where a lot of that kind of history is just
Mhm.
fading away from us. So these little tiny, mom and pop kind of like,
yeah, mom and pop, labor
I
of love.
love them. I
Mhm.
absolutely love them. And it is. It almost takes you back into that time, into
Yeah.
that era. And I think maybe if more people had those very humbling experiences, maybe there'd be more nice people walking around. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Or like understanding people something, because it really does. It takes you back into that time.
Yeah, it is. It's
And it's
good
like,
to something that gives you that perspective of
yeah,
history because growing up I didn't know that I liked history. To me history seemed to be just you learned about this battle and that
Yeah.
battle and
yeah,
it seemed very boring. But I was like I remember saying, "But I just like hearing about how people used to live
yeah.
100 years ago and what their day-to-day life was." And someone was like, "Well, that's history." I'm like, "What? No, but not from school." Like when I was a kid, I was like it
Right.
was boring in school, but
Uh,
really thinking like I love to think. And we can't it is fun things that really give you that taste of the past. So there are a lot of
Yeah.
living history museums. You probably have some up in Ohio and Pennsylvania that
Yeah.
you can go
yeah.
to. Do you have any near you? I love those where you can see, how they made. They'll have.
I
There's one
know.
near me where they do blacksmithing, and you
Yeah.
can go and you can
See,
see it, or they do weaving. You can see them weaving cloth and they're living. Oh, it was so funny. There's one in Fort Worth that's a living history museum, and they have a mill and they're grinding
okay.
flour, and they have someone, they're in their period clothes from the 1800s, and they
Yes.
move these. Here's the hilarious thing. The first time I went there with my husband and I mean, we're going along and I'm like, wow, it really feels like the old days. And we come around the corner and I see a zombie and a vampire, and they were having a zombie vampire film was in progress, and they were running from the cabins. I'm like, oh yes, and
Uh-oh.
of course, yes, I do remember what a problem zombies and vampires were for the early settlers.
Yeah.
And that's one of the docents was like, oh, we forgot to tell you, don't go over there. They're filming right now. I'm like, this is just really surreal because here she's like churning butter or something, and I look over and they're like, ah, and he's like, it was very funny.
I forget where it's at. I mean, it's semi close to Pennsylvania, because I remember when we were still back in Pennsylvania, I wanted to take my boys to it. But that is what it is. It is like a settler.
Yeah.
It's the old houses. It is you're making your own food. It is like
We've
over
done
the
that.
and even experience like that.
Mhm.
So when I was a kid, we had field trips
Yeah.
where we actually did get to go. It was actually in York. Do you remember that place, Scott?
Oh, that sounds cool.
That's
Out in
on
York
Murray
City.
Street. Murray Street.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where they would, you would see all of the period stuff, but then they actually showed it to you and gave you
Right.
hands-on experience if you wanted to try it. But see, this place here, it is like, that's where you stay. Like that's where you sleep. That's where it's like a vacation. Okay. But it's your vacation to understand how
this is an overnight thing. You don't just go there. How fun is that?
It is an overnight thing. Like you
can
I love it. 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights. Like it's like an overnight thing.
Oh, neat.
So I really wanted to do that with my children because I thought, you know what? I think that kind of experience, especially with how our technology is just so, you know, like let's humanize these little kids a little bit, you know, and really get them to see where they have come from.
Oh yeah.
Because and it's sad, you know, I had kids that, you know, sprawl out in ages still in school and stuff like that. But even from when I was in school to where they are at now, some of the things that we learned in history about our history, our settlers, they're not learning about it.
Yeah. And I'm like,
why? Like this is the history we should be teaching our kids. Like they should understand where all of this has evolved from. You know, like you think we just got here overnight? No.
No.
But yeah, I love those kind of experiences. And I think it's amazing for families to go do together. It can either bring you together or you're gonna want to kill each other by the time you're done with an experience like that. But it's also very humbling.
It is. And it's good to just unplug and engage together with the world around you.
Right. Absolutely.
So I think it's what all my books are really about. Even the travel ones, even the cemetery ones. It's about getting out there and just having your own experience, you know.
Now, do you have a new book in mind yet? Are your gears already kind of moving?
I've always got a few books going. Yeah, I mean, I've got that one coming out in October, the Dallas Scavenger one. So yeah, but one I've been working on that I didn't think I was going to write is a dementia caregiver's memoir, because my father-in-law lived with us for like 3 years and he had dementia, and just what I went through, my way of coping with it, because I write, is I just write whenever I'm stressed out, and people were like, "Oh, you should write about him." I was like, "No," but I had to vent. I had to get my feelings out and everything. And then after he passed away and some time went by, I started reading through it, and some of it's pretty darn funny. And I did start sharing some things on Facebook, some of the funnier bits, and people were like, I didn't want anyone to think I was being disrespectful to him, but they were all like, "No, I ended up making him his own Facebook page at one point because he loved it." And people were like, "Share more Bob stories." So it was like a thing. Once or twice a week, I'd be sharing these Bob stories. So that is one book that I want to, I didn't realize, I guess I accidentally wrote it. Now it's huge. It's like really big for a book. So my main thing is I just need to trim it down so that it can go out, because thank you, Kathy. I think it's a book that I need to write. Like I really like to help people if I can. And my books, you know, a lot of memoirs, like they you know, this one's very lighthearted. Like there's hopefully people will be laughing as they read it, because that's the way I cope with everything, is I play around with it until it makes me laugh, and then I can deal with it. That's kind of my main coping mechanism in life. So if I can share that with someone else is going, and maybe get them to think ahead a little bit. But I'm like, so that's one I'm working on. That's huge. Some other ideas. Oh my gosh, I don't know. I've got a few. I've got one that I jokingly call Cats of the World, because everywhere we go, like we were in Turkey, we were at this really ancient ruins, and I'm taking pictures of these cats. And people shared this meme with me recently that like someone had done, like when you're in an ancient civilization and all you do is take pictures of the cats. And I'm like, okay, busted. Because but cats would come up and just like pose for me. I mean, I was getting these really great pictures of cat people, and people are telling me, like, even our Egyptologist guide, he's like, "What is the deal with you?" Like cats were coming up, you know. So yeah, that's what I have to do. That is nice. My Bob stories definitely helped us deal with our moms. Well, that is nice to hear, you guys. Yeah, you know, it's like, I think sometimes sharing your own, and since I love to write, I guess if I can share and maybe that helps some people, that would love that.
Yeah.
So yeah, some other, I don't know, what else do I have? I always have like, sometimes the book that I think that is coming out, like I'll have a certain book, like this year I'm going to publish this book, and then I end up publishing a completely different book. So I mean, I don't know, the books kind of have a mind of their own as far as like, no, we're not ready, this or that. So I don't even know what else I am working on a revised version of my cemetery symbols book that
Oh,
has
okay.
a lot more photos in it and a little bit of some updated things that I've learned. It is something, you never just go, oh, I know it all. No, I'm done. No, I am constantly, like, I have this big box full of like research files, and then I talk to every as many cemetery caretakers as I can. I'm constantly learning. It's not like you're ever just done.
Right.
One book that I need to get done. I keep thinking every year this book it will be out, is the one about the 1897 airship mystery. I've done so much research on that. We have about 20 minutes north of me, there is a grave of an alleged alien.
Right.
That whole thing. And
I saw it.
I did a lot of research in newspaper archives to see. I wanted to know what people of that time actually thought of it, not what we think now. I really wanted to put because like what we're talking about, like what was it like to live in 1897? I really wanted to know. So I looked for personal accounts of, like I got a good one. This farmer, one of my favorites, is like a farmer. He was out tending his chores at night. It was starting to get dark, and he thought he heard a bunch of bees coming over him. So you think, like, what if, in 1897, you're not really hearing a lot of machinery. There are not a lot of machines in your life. Now we hear so many machines all the time. How would you describe a machine or an engine sound? People thought it was bees, or people who thought a tornado was coming if they saw something weird in the sky and they just went into their tornado shelter. People who thought it was the end of the world. So I tried to collect things like that. So my book will be not like, oh, I think it was this, I think it was that. It's more like, what were people seeing? What did they think they were seeing? Because here in Texas, there were hundreds of alleged sightings in like a 2-month period, and then it just quit. So, what were they seeing? I'm not saying it was a UFO. I mean, other than it was unidentified or people were seeing something, but I just want to know what they were feeling, what they were thinking. So I'm really trying to get that. My favorite thing would be if I could find somebody's diary entry, but so far I've just found things that have been in the newspapers. So that's another one. But yeah, beyond that, I never know what I'm going to be writing next. I write all the time. I research all the time. I never really know what's going to make it into print.
I think it's crazy though. That's a lot of people who write. It's kind of like you're always doing more than one project at a time. Like you're writing more than one thing at a Yeah, I know a few people. You're not the only one, but that's how their mind works too. It's like they're always working on more than like one thing at a time.
Well, because sometimes it's just not ripe. It's like, and so the project, you just hit this dead end, and like, you just can't deal with it emotionally. Like the Bob one, I couldn't write it when I was really close to it. And now that I've had a little time, I've been able to pick through it. Now I have a little better, now I can kind of shape the narrative of it. But when I was living it, I didn't even think it was going to be a book. That was my private stuff, which is good because it's, I just say everything in there. It was not meant for anybody's eyes, except for what I would put on Facebook. I'd be like, okay, but yeah, so what my point was, I had a point in there. Oh, but sometimes, so I'll work on a project and it just hit an end. So then I know I could just pick up another project and work on that, and then just be like, done with writing for the day.
Done.
Done.
And I would imagine that's what they call that writer's block, where you just kind of hit that wall and you just kind of like
I never really feel like I have
more to yield.
It's where you going?
It's a yield.
Yeah. This one's just not ready yet. You can't force it. Like it's just if it's not ready. But no, I don't have any intention to quit writing anytime soon. That's for sure.
Well, we're okay with that.
I love to research, and I get a lot of inspiration. I've been writing a lot of articles lately, and I do enjoy when people ask me questions. I like to feel helpful, so when people want to know what something is, I'll do the research for it. It gives me an excuse. I love researching. It's fun to try and figure things out. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. It was like my book, 6 Feet Under Texas. Some of the research I did for that was really fun. So I discovered the name of someone they just call Rope Walker over in Corsicana. But he was a one-legged type rope walker. Did I talk to you guys about him before?
Well, I read it.
Oh, you read that. So so that was a lot of fun to figure out the identity of this mystery grave. So, yeah.
Now, have any of your books come from other people coming to you and asking you about things, or is most of it in your books kind of like your own like research into things?
Well, I mean, I do my own research. Like I never just take someone else's. I don't just like go to Wikipedia and go, okay, I'm done researching. Like I try to get a lot of
down to the bottom of it.
Yes. So that's like, like when I was researching that thing about Rope Walker, I looked into newspaper archives and I tried to find things about it. And that's when I realized they had the wrong year on the headstone. It was actually 1883 and not 1884 that he died, because it was in the newspapers. And but this book, I have a book with Reedy Press called 100 Things to Do in Dallas Fort Worth Before You Die. And so for this book, I actually asked my newsletter readers what they thought should belong on a bucket list about North Texas. And that was really enlightening to me, because I had always thought of a bucket list as being like stuff you were only going to do once, like skydiving or something, riding a camel. No, I would do that again, maybe, but skydiving. But then what the suggestions that people gave me, I realized that what belongs on your bucket list are things that you would like to do. You did as a kid, you did with your children as they were growing up, things you want to do with, take your grandkids to do, the things that like are so meaningful that you want other people to do them. I was like, I never thought of a bucket list in that regard. And so like one of the places that I ended up putting in my book is Burgers Lake, which is a swimming hole, because so many of my newsletter readers, I mean, I had people in Maine, and this is a funny thing, they lived in Texas. Some of the people on my newsletter don't live in Texas anymore, but when I put out a call to them, like what should be on a bucket list, I was getting people, I live in Idaho now, but you should, is this place still around? They should eat at this restaurant, Candlelight Inn, which is a really fancy, it's a really interesting restaurant. It's Italian and Mexican food, which is perfect for Texas. And it's really mid-century with all this neon. Oh, we've got Miss Otis here now. But yeah, so I got a lot of help in that regard. And then I did the research to see what was open and what wasn't. But there were places that I didn't even know about Burgers Lake until people were telling me like, oh, this needs to be, it's a wonderful watering hole. I mean, swimming hole. And, you know, we have so many memories. So that's what I did. Tui, you've been very helpful with cemetery symbols. We have been taking my 10-year-old granddaughter to the cemetery. Ah, she's intrigued. That is so neat. That is so neat. I hope you have my little guide to hands, because I give that when people sign up to my newsletter.
It pops up.
I give them, I have a pop-up if you go to my website and you sign up and you get that, because that's how I got my husband interested in cemetery symbols. He used to go around. I never liked to go to a cemetery alone, and he always comes with me, but you know, he used to be kind of bored and he would just sit in the car or just be like looking on his phone or whatever. But I started pointing out hands to him and what they meant. And then he started going, oh, well, do you have this kind of hand? What does this hand mean? You know, this or that. Because hands are like easily identifiable. I mean, we've all had them at some point in our life, hopefully. And we can, you know, they're not so obscure that we can't, but they can mean so many different things. So it's a lot of fun. Oh, good. Okay. Oh, thanks, Kathy. Well, that means a lot to me. I am so glad. And that's so neat that your 10-year-old, I wish someone.
That is 10-year-old granddad. That's awesome.
I was going to cemeteries when I was 10 years old, but I was just making up my ideas of what different things meant. My friends and I would play and run around in the cemetery. There was a historic one near us, and that's
we used to make fun of some of the names.
Oh yeah, that's always fun. I mean, you know, I still love reading the different names. Yeah. If someone's got a really interesting name, I will go home and research it. Like there was a guy named Dude Hunter.
Yeah.
And he had a military grave. Like he'd been honorably discharged and yada yada. So my friend, actually, I told her about Dude Hunter, and she was on Ancestry. So she looked him up and she found out that he'd died in a bar fight where he got stabbed in the heart. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry about Dude. But I mean, yeah, you know, when someone
poor dude.
I know, poor dude. He was I guess a scrappy fella. But there was an article. Yeah, but it, you know, someone with a really interesting name like that, or an interesting epitaph, it is kind of fun to go home and look up the history behind them. Some of them I still can't
think my biggest thing was the last names. So like I grew up in a very small town. Everybody honestly knew everybody. You know?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So like if we went to the cemetery and you saw like a weird last name, it's like,
What are they doing here? Yeah, how'd they get here?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
And you run home and, we ask our parents, hey, who's this up in the cemetery?
No, they didn't know.
I still remember
Not
the
all of
one.
them now.
I think her name was Georgie and Fritter Frock.
Well, Fritter Frock. Fritter Frock. I know one of my favorite names is a first name, and it's Fleetha. It's THLITH, like Fleetha, like Lisa with a really strong lisp or something like Fleetha. I don't know. I was just like, how do you even Fleetha? I've never seen a Fleetha before, but yeah, there are some really interesting, fun names in cemeteries for sure.
Yes.
Kathy's saying, oh, her daughter's interested in the dates, the names, and local history. That's cool. That she's it's a great way to learn local history. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
Learn local history, spend time with your grandbaby, and
the plants and flowers here in Texas. Cemeteries are a great place to see the bluebonnets right now, and Indian paintbrush and other things, iris and all sorts of beautiful plants, trees, old trees.
Yeah.
There's some around here that are great for getting pecans that you can eat, stuff like that.
I wish we're getting snow out here. So
you guys, I know. Oh, sorry. It's so cold up where you guys are. I think it was 90 here today.
Yeah, right.
It's crazy. One day it snows, the next day it's like 80 degrees outside.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, Mother Nature. I see you're not having a good life right now. Like it's just
can make us mine.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Sorry, Scott. I'm abandoning your ass and I'm going back to the East Coast.
Yeah, I
love you, man.
Oh well.
That's all right. I'll come down.
But see, now I'm gonna have to deal with not getting any snow, and because we grew up in Pennsylvania, I'm gonna miss the snow.
Yeah.
I've already told my parents, so when we know y'all were gonna get a big, huge snowstorm, I'm gonna pack up the kids and we're coming to Pennsylvania for a snowstorm.
That sounds good. Yeah. I know. I used to ski to school sometimes because there was a wheat field in between me and the school. It was nice.
Yeah, we had, and even that is so different. It's funny because you talk about walking to school and we walk to school. I've heard all the stories about my parents walking to school. It's
that's true. Nowadays, everyone gets drives. Yeah, they drive.
Go catch that big yellow thing.
Yep.
And you better catch it because if you don't, you're screwed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to walk 6 blocks or so.
Only 6 blocks.
Wow, that's nothing.
I went too far.
Now see, my elementary school was literally right over a hill from my parents' house. So I used to be. Oh, do you guys remember being able to actually leave school for lunch? Come home for lunch if you live close enough? Yeah, no, you can't do that anymore either.
Gone are the days.
I used to on lunch.
But in elementary school and intermediate school, it was literally right there. So I'd walk to school, I'd walk home for lunch, get lunch, go back to school. The same thing. Even high school, we walked. It was a little bit further for middle school. Yeah.
I know they would hardly ever cancel school in Eastern Washington for snow, but in Western Washington, Seattle, my friends there, they just get the teeniest bit of snow and they'd be like, "Oh, we got 3 days off," because they don't have the equipment for it. No one knows how to drive in it. Yeah, and here in Texas, everyone freaks out, but we get those horrible ice pellets. It's very different. It doesn't look like anything, but it's like black ice everywhere.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'll definitely miss it. But like I said, at least I've still got connections and where we get. And it's weird out here because they actually get more snow than Pennsylvania does. But Pennsylvania gets a bigger accumulation of snow with their snowfall versus
where are you
out
going
here.
Exactly?
We're going to South Carolina.
Oh, that is going to be different.
But we're from Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So I totally understand her comment because, we're used to big, huge snowstorms back in Pennsylvania. So, they get a foot of snow out here and they don't know how to drive. And the husband and I are just flying or because we're used to driving in feet of snow.
Yeah. It's
I
yes.
was surprised too. It's like, what? There's like a dusting on the road and they're canceling school.
Like,
Mhm.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. Yep,
Sure. But yeah, how times do change.
they
Absolutely.
do.
well, I'll try anymore. So on that.
Hmm.
You're not missing anything, Scott. You're
Yeah.
really not.
Yeah, the cat. Good grief.
That's how my one cat, she is always up on my desk. It's just like, now
Yeah, I'm
she's
in a different
being good
spot.
right
I
now,
don't
but
normally, I don't have a drawer for her to sit in like normally. So I don't have it all.
right,
We've been doing all this work around our house, so it's kind of different.
right.
Ah,
But they find their ways and they
Oh,
find little
yeah.
places. That's
now she's trying to chew the wire of my my earphones. Don't do that, girl.
yes, I can't tell you how many charging cords I've had to replace.
Oh,
Oh,
they
yeah.
just love it. I'm like, don't they get
That's true,
zapped? I mean,
Mom.
it's plugged in, but she's like,
You would think, yeah, but
crazy.
maybe it's just not enough to really bother them. I don't know.
Yeah.
But mine do it all the time.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, pasties.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see, like, once we move, for the cats to find like their new spots and
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
their hiding spots and stuff. Because I mean,
Mhm.
we have 2 dogs and 2 cats, and typically my cats are not bothered by my dogs.
Mhm.
But my little hairball, who's about the size of a chihuahua, he's hyper,
Yeah.
and sometimes my cats are just like, nope, not today.
Oh,
Not
not
today.
doing it. Not doing it.
So they go to their hiding spot, or that poor little dog gets whipped around.
Aw.
I mean, he's only about like this tall. My one cat is actually bigger than my dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that cat just lets him have it. So it's interesting.
Well. Oops.
Oh,
I love cats, though. I mean, just for that reason.
I do
Amazing
too. They're a lot of
personalities.
fun. Yeah.
They are.
I know. I wish when I travel, I wish I could take my cat. That's the hardest part about traveling
Right.
is not having my cat with me.
Do you have any travels coming up, or are you kind of just hunkering down at home for a little bit now?
Well, actually, I do.
Yeah.
Yes, and I need to get ready for them. Well, first of all, my sister's coming. So
Oh,
that's going to be
okay.
great in
Nice.
May. So she's going to come for a couple weeks. And then, okay, here we go. And then when she leaves, my husband and he kind of arranged a thing. We are going to go up to Nova Scotia.
wow.
And then
Nice.
we're going to see the cemetery where the Titanic victims of the Titanic are buried.
Oh,
things like
okay.
that.
Yeah.
Then we're going to go to Iceland and see Iceland.
That's cool.
Then I'm going to visit my stepdaughter in Britain for a little bit. We're going to go down. We're going to take the Eurostar through the Channel. I've never been through the Channel. And we're going to go to Paris so I can see Père Lachaise Cemetery, which I've wanted to see forever.
Right.
Then we're going to go see Norway and some places like that. I don't even know. I need to look at everything. He's been like, while I was madly finishing up my book, he was like,
he was working on that.
He was putting together this coolio trip. So we will be gone, and yeah, we're gonna be gone for a
That's
time.
so awesome.
And I'd say that Titanic Cemetery.
Which one?
It's the cemetery stone I sent you at the time. Remember Titanic Survivor?
Oh yeah, the Titanic survivors.
No, the one I sent you.
Oh,
That's why when you were doing cemetery stones and stuff.
yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
That's church in Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That would be cool to see. I mean, I hope I could. Right when COVID hit, we had a trip going up the Eastern Seaboard. We were going to go visit all these historic cemeteries, like in Boston, and all the way up to New York, and just but that got canceled. So it was starting in like Savannah, and we were going to work our way up to all these cemeteries, but we didn't get to do it. So another time.
Fun. Yeah.
Another time.
Right. Well, that sounds so exciting. keep us in the loop and post it. And yeah,
I will.
It will be very nice to see all of your pictures and
all my cat photos. Yeah. We'll take more photos.
No, I cat photos.
Well, Sandy's listening. Sandy Lopez says hi. She's listening as well. Oh, nice. Hi, Sandy. I'm glad she is tuned in. Well, if anyone has any questions, let ask them now. Yeah, it'll be fun. And so I'll do my best to share my travels as we go along, and I'll share things on Facebook and let people know where they can follow along. And because I like to try and share my travels when I can.
Yeah.
I'm still digesting the last trip we were on, though. I have so many notes and things that I took. I need to go through them all. I mean, that was an overload.
Right.
Yeah, but.
Oh, and one thing that, I got my fortune told on our trip. It was a lot of fun. I need to listen back to it. We were in Turkey, and this lady, really sweet gal. I wanted some Turkish coffee because I love coffee. I used to have a coffee house. So I'm like, I'm in Turkey. I don't care. I'm getting some Turkey. I just asked. I saw this gal. She looked really sweet, and I said, do you have Turkish coffee? Because I heard her speaking a little English, and she's like, yeah. So we sat down, and she goes, I will make you a wonderful coffee, and I will tell your fortune just for fun. I'm like, what? And so she, had me drink the coffee and then turned it upside down, and then she read the what it meant,
Yeah.
Well, the funny part was, I figured we must have picked a good coffee house because there was some cops sitting there and some, locals. It wasn't just a tourist, right? We were the only tourists in there, actually. So she starts telling me my fortune, and then this man jumps up and he comes over and he's looking over his shoulder. And he's like, tell her about this. He's like backseat driving. Telling her, oh, did you tell her this? And so then a couple of them are talking about like what it means, and so it was a lot of fun.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so she let me videotape it. I need to listen to that videotape again because I was like, can I videotape this? And I need to see if it came true.
Right.
I was just excited
See
that it
how
was
accurate
happening.
this is.
It was pretty neat. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
And when you're in a different area like that, I mean, it's just a very takeaway experience. You can have your fortune read here all you want.
Yeah.
But when you're somewhere completely different, that's cool.
It was just one of those totally unplanned, nice things. And one thing, we were right by the water. There were a lot of docks down there. And one thing that made me laugh was that, here, if you're down by the docks, you'll see people will put like a blue plastic tarp over something. Over there, they had Turkish rugs over everything. Like, these really nice rugs. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, they just threw this really nice rug over, a bale of whatever, just some stuff. I'm like, I guess to them, it's just like, just an old rug. They have all these really great Turkish rugs everywhere. So to them, they aren't as exotic as they are over here,
True. Yeah, true.
It was funny to me. I was just like, wow, okay.
Huh.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Well, I guess they might, I mean, some of those areas might not even have like access to certain things that like we have.
It is very different. Like in Egypt, I saw people, oxen pulling carts and little kids on riding on donkeys and pulling carts, and just, I mean, everything from the modern day vehicles down to just a lot of things pulled by animals still, being plowing with an ox. And it was interesting to see. It was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Flashback in time, kind of.
Yeah, it was. You see little kids, like 3 kids on the back of an ox or something. You're like, wow. That's pretty cool.
I think that's why I so enjoy the Amish communities that are still around.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Like, we have Amish communities here in Indiana. Scott, I know you got them in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
There, I mean, from where we're from, Pennsylvania, it's like I really enjoy the Amish communities because of that. It kind of gives you that flashback and kind of in time in a way.
Do you go and like buy jam and things from them?
No. I do we have a local like Amish market.
Oh, cool.
And so when we first moved out here, I was so bummed out because I did a lot of shopping, especially like my homemade bread and stuff like that from the Amish. So when we came out here, I did not realize that there were still as many Amish communities that there are, like in Indiana and Ohio, the way that they are. So it was a very pleasant surprise to actually come
neat.
to find out that like our closest Amish community is like,
cool.
what, like 40 minutes north of us. Like you go 40 minutes one way and it's nothing but big city, but you go 40 minutes another way and it's 200
Amish years back in time or something. Yeah, that is so cool.
It's neat.
Oh, I love that. Oh, that's cool. I just saw the thing from Kathy. So Kathy, you're the one that Sandy's been telling me about how she goes with her friend through different cemeteries. Now I know. Now I'm putting the two together. Thank you, Kathy, for helping me put that together. Looks like you guys have some pretty cool cemeteries that you're able to walk through.
That's really cemeteries. They're peaceful. It's just, I don't know. I've always been very drawn to cemeteries.
I'm always telling people
especially your older ones. I like the old ones.
They bring, I don't want to interrupt anybody who's mourning. I love to go to an older cemetery where everyone has passed away so that, you're going to bump into historians and genealogists or whatever. But even so, I mean, I just like to remind people that cemeteries are for the living. I mean, who knows when you pass away and you're buried. I mean, no one can say, we won't know yet, luckily. But I mean, the cemetery does exist to provide comfort to us, and on many levels, not just because someone who's buried there, but because it's a place where there are old trees and there's wonderful plants, and you can be kind of quiet and commune with nature. Not that many places you can go that are quiet. I mean, bookstores and libraries are nice, and then cemeteries. You know what I mean? I love all of those places, so I guess there's a theme.
Historic cemetery has been so much fun to learn.
That's great. Yeah, it's a really way to engage with the past and and the present at the same time. So it can be very nourishing for us, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping to go this weekend and go look for some flowers and things in our local cemeteries.
Yeah, it's like when it starts
getting. Are you setting that on a piano? It sounds like a piano when you set it down. When you set your drink down.
Oh, really?
It sounds like a piano. It goes like yeah.
It's a metal table.
Oh, it faked me out. I was like, he's sitting at a grand piano or something. He's gonna do it. You're gonna play us out.
Well, I can, you can do karaoke for us.
Okay. Oh, nice. Yeah. I've heard things in cemeteries, and I wish I had been recording. Like I heard children giggling in this one cemetery I was in. I was like, oh man, why didn't I get that? I mean, it was audible. It was not
right.
I never think to get the recordings. I should more.
I really like going into some of your older ones that are like family based, like all like, you know what I mean? Like it's the same family and so like back where I'm from, in like the North Cadorus Township area, there is a cemetery where that's exactly what it is. It's probably about 3 generations of family.
Oh, okay.
And they're slaves too. So that, the slaves were buried with them. They were part of the family.
Yeah.
It is so neat. And it's one of those things where, so we were just out driving around and we stumbled across like an old dirt road. Sure, why not? We've got nothing else better to do. So, we start going up this old like dirt road and then it kind of like veers off. And it's like, at this point in time, even though I'm from this area, I'm like, this is weird. I've never seen this before. I don't know where we're at.
Yeah.
So, we're going to go the way that we don't know where it's going to take us. That's how we found that cemetery. I mean, it is back in a very deep wooded area. But once you get back into the area, it just opens up and there's this family cemetery.
Wow.
And oddly enough, so, we're all from the same area. All of my family, most of my friends, grew up in the same area. And almost everybody that I talked to had no idea that family cemetery was back there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Isn't that
something? The only person we were able to come across that knew anything about it was, so when you leave the cemetery and you keep going down this like dirt lane, it brings you to an old farmhouse. And I'm like, oh, shit, we're on someone's property now.
Yeah.
Like, But the guy was so cool. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like we were just, no. Like he was so cool about it. And I was like, well, hey, like offhand, would you happen to know anything about the cemetery? And he just, oh yeah, and
Oh,
rattled
that's
on
nice.
what he knew about it. And he actually said, I've been the one taking care of this.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, that is so cool. I'm like,
That
bless your
is.
heart.
Yeah.
It is. I will I'll send you the information for it, Scott, because I think I actually found it in that that what is it, cemetery.com or
Find a grave?
graveyard. Yeah, it's
Find a grave,
something like
yeah.
that.
Find a
I think
grave.
I actually found it in that website, but it's like, nope, it's one of those little golden treasures. Nobody
Wow.
knows it's there.
Yeah. That's great.
But yet you would think people would know because it's people who grew up in the area, that you know what I mean? So yeah,
Yeah,
that was a really cool find.
I like
Wow.
findthegrave.com.
Yeah,
That's-
Find a
Yeah.
Grave's very good. I
Yeah.
love it too. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't used that for a while.
I do.
But
Around
we
here,
stumbled when we first moved out here, and it was the coolest, craziest, but kind of creepiest thing all at once. It was so weird. And like we were just within our first, week here and just driving around on some of these back roads, and Indiana becomes very like they don't name their roads. Like for real. Like roads will just cut through acres and acres and acres and acres of cornfield, and they don't bother to name it. It's just like
really?
country
It's just...
road. Yes, I'm serious.
Yeah.
It's just like country road too. Okay. All right, it's good to know I'm a country road too. Okay. But yeah, so we were just on one of these old back roads, and so we came across like this fence, and I took notice to like a lot of old stuffed animals, and I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, Brian, you gotta stop. And my husband, he knows my quirkiness, my weirdness. So he's just like, wife, and I'm like, you're stopping. Like, you need to let me out.
Yeah.
Well, we come across this like old like plaque. It reminds you of like one of your smaller tombstones, but then there was a plaque on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't make out anything that was on this plaque anymore. And the old, like the wheatgrass, whatever you call it, was kind of grown up and around, and all these stuffed animals. And it was like,
wow.
The longer I sat there, I just felt like this instant sorrowness hit me. And I'm like, we're not leaving until I clean this up. And it's like, my kids are looking at me like, she's seriously going to do this right now.
Yeah.
And I did. No, we're not moving until I get all of these stuffed animals picked out of the grass. I opened this back up. But that was another one. Like, I've asked people in the area, like, do you know anything about this?
Yeah.
Like, for me to see stuffed animals, I think a child or children.
Oh, for sure.
But yet nobody knows a thing about it.
Wow.
I've got pictures of it. I've showed the pictures. I'm like, like this is what it looked like before that, nobody knows anything about it. I'm like, that's weird.
Well, Sandy's watching from Facebook. Oh, okay. Hi, Sandy. So glad. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, we've got some from Facebook and YouTube tonight.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and Twitch. And Twitch.
Oh, and Twitch. I didn't see any Twitch ones pop up yet.
Yeah, it was a good side investigation.
I can't see
CRI.
Oh, that's nice. Well, it's very nice. Thanks to everybody who's watching. I hope it's been interesting. And if you have any questions, go ahead and ask. Yeah, I know. I can't. There's just something in me that says no. Like if that was my space, if that was my remembrance space, memorial space, I would hope that somebody would take care of it and not let it get overgrown. And it was seeing those stuffed animals. Those once I saw those stuffed animals, it just like it. I'm looking at my own little tiny humans, and I'm like, how could somebody just let this go?
Right.
I carry a little whisk broom, like dustpan, a little whisk broom with me. That's good for just getting like bird poop and just the general. I do like the cemeteries that recently people had gone through and really cleaned with official cleaning stuff and cleaned the marble. I have never done that. But I will like just try and do the cursory just cleaning a little bit,
Right.
I do think it's wonderful when people adopt a certain cemetery and really take care of it. A lot of Boy Scouts will do that. Boy Scout troops. sometimes it'll be an Eagle Scout project for somebody or this or that.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, I follow a few people. I mean, mainly on TikTok though, where I mean that's what they do. That's how they spend their time is they go out and they clean.
Oh, there's some people who just do amazing jobs on the cleaning.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's nice.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see it be brought back to life and you can actually read it again. You can it's amazing.
Yeah, it is. Preserving history is really great. And what I like too is I was reading an article about different groups that the cradle graves, so the graves that have like a little flower bed in front of it essentially.
Yeah.
So in the day it would have been full of flowers, and some cemeteries that I've been to here in Texas, someone's obviously going and putting flowers in them, but there are some places where local gardening associations will adopt a cemetery and get permission from the cemetery foundation to go back and and to put flowers back in those. It's very nice because that's how they're supposed to be. That's what they're for the living.
We passed a cemetery out here. It's been a few months, but at first I was like, what the hell are these people doing? And then I realized what they were doing. It was a group of probably between like 6 to 8 people. They went to each tombstone, and they were laying flowers down at each tombstone.
Wow.
I'm like, that is so cool. I'm like,
that
is cool. Yeah, that's the first time I've ever seen anything like that. So I mean, that was really cool to see.
Around May for Memorial Day and Veterans Day, there are people who do that flags.
The flags.
Which is nice. Yeah.
Yep.
I've seen Boy Scouts going through and putting those down in different, groups getting together.
Right.
I think that's nice. Very nice.
Yeah. Once you finally get to make your ventures up through the East Coast, you'll have to let us know. And
I will. I'll be bugging you guys.
You in on some locations.
You tell me the cool ones. We can go and enjoy them on all sorts of levels.
Right.
Maybe catch some EVPs or something too while we're there.
Yeah.
Okay, that'll be awesome. So.
Yeah. Be a lot of fun.
Well, Scott, I think I'm gonna bounce off here. I got little munchkins to get ready for bed.
Oh, so cute.
So I get one more day with my husband, and then he has to leave. So
good luck with your move. You got a lot. I know that's not an easy feat. So good luck.
I'm just glad I don't gotta pack anything.
That is great. Here's to the unpacking. Wonderful.
Yes.
Well,
that's the fun part. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think we're at a good point.
Okay.
So we can go ahead and sign off. We're going to definitely have you back on again.
Oh, absolutely.
There's no doubt about that. We will have you back on again. So.
Well, thanks to everybody. Thanks to you guys for having me on, and thanks to everybody who watched. So appreciate wherever you're watching from. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. It was fun.
Oh yeah.
Always fun to chat with you guys.
Yeah. Fun.
Yeah, we'll definitely have you back.
Okay, in the fall. How's that? We'll do it in the fall.
Right. Once she's done all of her new ventures again. Yeah.
Yeah, when I got my new book out and spooky season's on, I'll be all ready to talk some ghosty stuff. We'll have some fun.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thanks, everybody. Sherry and Ghost Rider and Kathy.
Happy
Everything. Thank you, everybody. Bob, Connie,
have
Ken.
a good night, everyone.
You too. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye, Tui.
Bye, you guys. Bye.